Welcome back to Breakfast Television. 1 in 6 couples struggles with infertility. It can be a lonely and emotionally challenging time. But Justine Dowd is here. She's a University of Calgary postdoctoral fellow with some holistic treatment options that might help. Good morning to you, Justine.
Good morning, Leah.
This is such a sensitive topic for so many people to talk about. Why is that?
It's so personal, obviously, and it's so emotional, and we know people who are struggling with fertility have extremely high levels of anxiety, shame, and depression, and feel so alone.
And they feel so alone, and yet it's so common. 1 in 6 couples with infertility, but then when it comes to secondary infertility, tell a little bit about that.
Right, I was actually surprised to learn this, that 1 in 3 couples, 35% of the population can struggle with secondary infertility.
So and what is that, to be clear?
Yeah. Struggling to get pregnant after you already have 1 child.
Right. I had no idea, right, that number was so high. So clearly this is something that is so common, yet we still struggle with it emotionally, and we don't like to talk about it because it's so hard to talk about. But what you're suggesting and what the research shows is that actually is not helpful when we're not talking about it.
No, I think it makes people feel even more isolated and alone, and then you just feel less empowered, and it's just so difficult.
It really is. So tell me a little bit about what the research shows when it comes to all of these other things that couples can be doing, and the women in particular, that can help them feel a little bit better.
Right. Well, I think it's the research is showing that it is so important to really take a holistic approach to fertility. So really treating the whole patient. There might be medical aspects involved, and that's wonderful. There's so many great doctors out there to help you. But there are also many alternative practitioners that can help as well. And my research focuses on how self-compassion can help people to cope with these sorts of situations. Difficult times in their life.
Sure.
And so we know that self-compassion can actually help people reduce those feelings of shame, anxiety, and distress. And connecting with other people is a huge part of
that.
Reducing those feelings too, so you don't feel so alone.
Okay. So when you say self-compassion, what do you mean? Like, what does that look like? Like, what can people do for themselves?
Well, self-compassion is pretty simple, as it's treating yourself with the same caring kindness that you would often treat other people with. And so that involves self-kindness rather than being hard on yourself, recognizing that we're common. It's called common humanity. So recognizing you're not the only one going through whatever struggle it is you're going through, and that extends beyond fertility. It's all different areas. This can be really helpful.
Right.
And also mindfulness. So we know that mindfulness is a really big word out there, and it's a very big part of self-compassion, and that's just the way that we are in the present moment and acknowledging our feelings and recognizing them and helping you feel validated for being upset, frustrated, jealous, mad, or angry, whatever it is.
It's okay to feel that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that's where when we practice self-compassion, we can, you give yourself the ability to feel that way. And rather than just say, oh, go away feelings, that actually makes those feelings get worse and harder. But if we're kind to ourselves, that can actually make it easier to cope with difficult situations.
Wow, okay. So you're talking then really about treating that patient as a whole person. So in conjunction with the medical side of things, you're suggesting that we do all of these other things that look after the emotional component, the spiritual, or whatever the case may be, to get that whole package of care.
Absolutely. And that'll look different for everyone. I think it's so important to listen to what your gut and your heart are telling you that you feel that you need.
Wow, okay, so look after yourself. Now, you're going to help some women with this. You've got a retreat coming up. Tell us about that quickly.
Yes, so we have a retreat in Bragg Creek. I'm working with some wonderful healthcare providers. It's a full-day retreat in Bragg Creek on Sunday, November 4th at the Heart Cafe. And it's going to be a wonderful day. It's going to be a really small group of women, all to really build connection with each other so that you can not feel so alone. And then also learn from health experts. So that'll be on the 4th, and then also on the 26th of, it's a Monday night in Calgary, we have a session that's even more specific on self-compassion and connecting with other women who are struggling as well.
Perfect. Justine, thank you so much for telling us all about this.
Thank you for your time, Leah.